My friends, thank you again for joining this morning and welcome to Program 60. So for those that do not know me, my name is Lauren Fye. I am the program manager for Program 60, among other programs here at The Ohio State University. The reason I came to Ohio State in the first place is previously I worked in long-term care. I worked with older adults with various different abilities, but I did see the need for, you can continue to learn in later life. And what better way to learn than through Program 60 here at Ohio State University? And so a couple of those interests of mine kind of intersected, and that's how I landed my job here. So before we kind of get a little bit more into why maybe some of you have decided to jump on this webinar, I'm going to go ahead and take some time to go over some historical background on Program 60, just so that way you kind of know where Program 60 was back then, where it is now, as well as the eligibility requirements too as well, just because it's one of those things where we do have to make sure you are eligible. But it's pretty easy, basic eligibility requirements, so do not fret. So Program 60 was established in 1973. So way back then, the president at the time, Dr. Emerson, traveled with his wife all the way to Colorado University. I don't know why you would go to a university for a vacation, but hey, to each his own. They went out there, they saw a lot of different programs at Colorado University, but one in particular they saw on the news, and it was a version of what we know Program 60 here. It allowed those that are 65 and older to participate in classes on campus. And Dr. Emerson was like, man, I think this is a great program. Let's take this back. So they actually cut their vacation short, and they traveled all the way back to The Ohio State University. And in 1974, that winter quarter, right after that vacation, he proposed to the board, and lo and behold, Program 65 was born. Now you're probably wondering, Lauren, this is Program 60. What happened in between for Program 65 and Program 60? Well, probably 4 years later, the census came out, and they saw that there's more and more of those that are turning the age of 60. And so because to meet those needs, they ended up switching over from Program 65 to Program 60 to meet that need. There was also a state guidance where the state of Ohio passed legislation where it is embedded that any state university in the state of Ohio has to have a program such as Program 60. A lot of other universities around, public universities around the state of Ohio do have a program similar to this, but we were kind of the ones that were trailblazing this effort. So that's kind of a really cool fun fact about Program 60. This program in particular, it's tuition free. However, I do want to make note that though it is tuition free, Program 60 participants are in charge of paying for books, lab fees, as well as material fees. And it's never a surprise. It's not one of those things where if you sign up for a class, you're mysteriously like, oh, why did I get these fees? We talk about this a little bit more extensively in orientation, which I'll provide that information to sign up if you haven't already. But that is just something to be mindful of, that there are some fees, depending on the class, of course. There's some that don't. So it's one of those things where be mindful of that, especially if you really don't feel like paying for any fees whatsoever. But we'll teach you how to do that. This program is also only open to those that are current Ohio residents that are 60 years and older. There's two caveats to this. So for those that are current Ohio State residents, what that means is you have to be a resident for 12 consecutive months in the state of Ohio. And it can't be where you've lived in Ohio all your life. Let's say you were born and raised in Ohio, and you just recently moved to a different state. Unfortunately, it's because of how it is with state guidance. You have to be a current resident. And that's just because it's a benefit. It's a benefit for those that are 60 years and older. Another thing to consider too as well is I've had a couple questions come through email before this webinar, and they asked, I'm about to turn 60. I'm not quite 60 yet, but I am turning 60 this term. I'm currently 59. So the great thing is if you can prove that you are turning 60 the term that you are signing up to be in the program, then you can do that. Otherwise, if you're not quite 60 yet, and let's say you're not going to be 60 for another several months, you might need to wait until our next sign up registration period opens which would be in August. And we'll forward that information once time gets closer to that too as well. So that's just a couple things to be mindful of. In regards to taking classes, that's what we're all here for. These classes are instructor permission, space available basis. So what this means is, there's some classes that you have to ask the instructor to, get permission for. And there's also, seat requirements in regards to space availability. So fire code, we have to abide by that. Obviously, if it's a room that has only 40 seats available and you're trying to get in, it's like max capacity. Unfortunately, you want to be able to get in that. So that's just a couple things to be mindful of in regards to this program. Now, a little bit more information about Program 60. You could take any graduate and undergraduate level courses. And again, this is with the caveat of you have to get instructor permission for some of these classes. For graduate level classes, you also have to get department permission. So not only you have to get instructor permission, you also have to get department permission. And of course, we'd work along with you, different things like that. These classes are also, for audit. You don't get classes for credit. So you're not going to get a transcript. And each time you enroll in classes each term, it doesn't take account for, let's say you're taking a chemistry, series classes and you want to get to the next level. Well, unfortunately, even if you took the chemistry 1 and you're trying to get in chemistry 2, you still have to get instructor permission because the system doesn't recognize that since you're taking class for audit, you're a Program 60 participant, you still have to get that instructor permission. So we would work with you and we talk a little bit more about that in our orientation. And I've said this like 20 times already, instructor permission is a big thing. We go a little bit more into the orientation about when you do not have to do instructor permissions. But I always highly recommend you to always get instructor permissions because that's kind of like your saving grace, especially in some scenarios that could happen, going back to seat availability and things like that. So, all right. On that note, I know I kind of went through, a lot of just high level information about the history and eligibility requirements for Program 60. And I currently do not see any questions in the chat. So I'm assuming that this information makes sense. But enough of me talking. This next section is why you should choose Ohio State for Program 60. And I have a really great video that showcases instructors as well as some participants, some that are currently participating too as well, that talk about their experience and how much of an asset this program is at Ohio State.
Program 60 provides Central Ohioans age 60 and older with access to the tremendous educational resources of The Ohio State University.
This first semester when talking about the Vietnam War, one of the members of my class actually started to break down a little bit because he was remembering his peers, that is people who were 18 and 19, when he was back in the 60s being called up on the draft, and how intense of an experience that was for him. And it gave such a emotional richness to the class that, a video or a book couldn't do.
We support lifelong learners with quality courses offered in person or online. Every year, thousands of Program 60 students attend undergraduate and graduate level courses across the university on a tuition-free, credit-free basis.
I have told everybody about it. I mean, I just think this is a great gift that the university offers to people over 60.
I've enjoyed every course. Every instructor has been very welcoming. In every class, the other students have treated me as one of them, and that's got to be difficult. I mean, there you are, 20 or 21 or 22 years old, and there's some guy in your class who's your granddad's age, and I really enjoyed that. That's been very meaningful to me.
We welcome students of all backgrounds pursuing their educational goals. Purposeful learning is the common denominator, whether it be for work or just for fun. Program 60 is about people living or reliving their educational dreams. Many of our learners are returning Buckeyes, have graduated or retired from Ohio State, while others always wanted to be a Buckeye but never had the opportunity.
This is not your high school history class where you do dates and everything. You're going to learn history. and I did, because I didn't care for history in high school for that same reason, just memorizing dates and things. So it was wonderful.
Program 60 participants were a great ambassador, really, for someone who was new to the community, because they were very welcoming, wanted to know who you were. All of them had been alumni of OSU, so they had all these stories to tell as well.
Now, there's no bad experience. There's no reason not to do it. If you got the time, this has become my job, is to kind of benefit myself. Because when you come home, you're excited, you feel refreshed, and you can do as much or as little as you want. It's helped me tremendously.
If you would like to learn more about Program 60, please find us on the web or call our office at 614-292-8860. Thank you.
All right. So yeah, that video is really excellent in regards to just overall experiences, just because obviously I'm unable to participate. However, it's really great to hear those that have had that positive experience and how much, just in general, it heightens the overall experience of learning here at Ohio State University. So a really great video. Before we kind of get a little bit more into actually signing up to be in the program, I do like to outline some expectations that participants can, expect in regards to engaging in courses. And this should just so that way you're aware of what's expected, as well as just different components that you might have to engage in to, participate in classes here at Ohio State. So it's important to kind of just be mindful of your interactions with all staff, faculty, and other students. There's sometimes microaggressions that happen, which is just scenarios that could, maybe potentially offend someone. So it's always important to kind of just present yourself in a way that is respectful, as well as just in general being understanding of other people's perspectives. Email is really important. University, as well as our department, will send updates in, just various things, and also your instructors too. And so we'll kind of show you in regards to setting up your Buckeye email account, how important that is, but just be mindful in regards to how you communicate through email. It's also important for you to kind of understand your role. I mean, you're a participant in Program 60. And so, it's sometimes people, feel that since they are older than some of the, traditional students, younger generations in classrooms, that maybe they have the upper hand. So we're all there to learn. And so just being respectful of those, interactions, but also being respectful of the instructor too. It's also important to communicate effectively with your instructors. So like I indicated, these classes you take for audit, sometimes you can talk with the instructor, and with being, taking class for audit, you can say, hey, I don't plan on participating in all exams or homework assignments, or maybe you just plan on just listening to lectures. It's important to discuss this with the instructor, because sometimes instructors or even their departments have certain expectations of how engaged they want students and participants to be in their classes. So a prime example is a lot of the language classes here on campus expect those in Program 60 to participate 100%, participate in all discussions, exams, homework assignments, things like that. So if that's something that maybe you're not, maybe you're not interested in doing, but maybe there's another alternative in a class that they can provide you. So that's just important to, discuss that. It's also important to just be aware of just the overall class expectations. So you can oftentimes find this in the syllabus, but also, again, it goes back to conversation with the instructor, as they could also walk through, and they typically do that during the first week of classes. And lastly, this is a big one too as well. And at the end, I will be talking about other services we provide to help you. We do utilize a lot of technology in regards to just engaging classes here at Ohio State University. Some of you maybe are tuning in from, maybe participating in the program prior to 2017. Prior to 2017, we weren't in the system. We weren't utilizing Buckeye Link and different services. And so, yes, there was a little bit less technology utilized, but the expectation now is you do participate in a lot of the discussions, signing a department canvas, Buckeye Link, things like that. And so there is a basic level of computer understanding So if that's something that maybe is overwhelming, feel free to reach out to me, and I can provide you other resources that we do have. That way we can support you to learn those tools before you start engaging in classes. Because at the end of the day, we just want you to be as successful as possible. All right. So what we've been waiting for. So in this information section, we do go over steps 1 through 3. I am also going to show you how to navigate the website because it is important to utilize this as a resource, as it's a great visual, especially if you don't have that printed participation guide, which I have in the chat for you. So this is a time where we're going to actually walk through the steps, these 3 steps in regards to first-time participants. And this allows you to kind of walk through with me as we go through this process. So step 1 is to actually sign up to be in Program 60. So you'll often hear this as registration. It's the one-time sign up. Basically, it's a survey you have to fill out, and it takes, maybe like 2 minutes to fill out. And once you fill it out, it takes about 7 days for it to process. And then you'll be able to move on to the other steps. It started today, so it's on the website, and I'm actually going to go ahead and take the time to show you how to fill it out. But other than that, once you fill this out, you'll only receive 1 email from us in your personal email account. And then the expectation will be for any other communications from us directly will come to your Buckeye email. So that is the expectation. Other than that, we're going to walk through this, and feel free to pull up any internet browser you use, and we'll go ahead and rock and roll. So I'm going to go ahead, and we're going to go in our search engine. We're going to type in program60.osu.edu. From there, it's going to come to this really lovely website, Program 60 website. So before we go to the Participate tab where the registration's at, I did want to just show you just a couple of things. So you scroll through here, and you'll find these tiles down here. And this is actually the steps that we're going to go through today, as well as through the orientation, that any participant engaging in the program has to go through. So this is really nicely laid out. You can actually click the tile, and it takes you to that page. There's also a note just indicating where to start. So if you're a new person, you start with step 1. If you're a returning participant that has, signed up to be in the program previously, then you would actually start at step 4. So that's kind of a nice visual. But if you scroll down this page, you're going to come to this announcement section. And this section's really nice too as well, because this outlines any webinars we have coming up, as well as any resources that are here to help you as a Program 60 participant. So we are currently in the middle of the Program 60 information session. So you actually find this information right here. We do record these. So of course, this will actually take you to the recordings that we have previously, but you'll be able to find any other webinars we have available. We do have a resource webinar that is coming up on April 6th, and this has different representatives from all across campus that are going to be talking about what resources are available to you as a participant on and off campus. So this is a really great one, especially if maybe you're slightly overwhelmed with how large the university is, or maybe you just want to know what's available to you just to support you in your endeavors. It's a really great webinar. The orientation will go over all the other steps as well as just demonstrate everything. It's very extensive. And so this is really great, especially if maybe you are a little overwhelmed and you're not too familiar with the technology platform pieces for higher education, as well as just kind of getting used to the system itself. So that's a really great one too as well. On the side here, we also have important dates. So I always update these that are pertinent to Program 60. So for instance, right here, 3/28 is today's date, and this is when the registration's one-time sign-up starts. So that's kind of, I'll update that every term, and this is a great way for you to check it out. But I also do send emails out, so if you ever need more information, you can always keep an eye out for emails from me in your Buckeye email account. All right, so from that note, we're going to go ahead and we're scroll back up to the top of the page. And anytime you come to the Program 60 website, I do want to indicate just for the sole reason of actually getting signed up for classes, you're always going to want to come to this participate tab every term. This kind of outlines all the steps, which are also in that printable participation guide. But this is kind of a nice way to start getting used to utilizing the website. So we are on step 1. So this is complete one-time program sign up. So it's the registration. And this indicates if you're new, go ahead and go to this. So you're going to click here. And it just provides information. So this indicates the length of time this application window is open. So for instance, this is from March 28th to April 19th. And for you to participate in Program 60, you have to sign up. Otherwise, if you do not sign up by the time this closes, unfortunately, you won't be able to participate for summer term. You will have to wait until autumn term to be able to sign up to be in the program. The nice thing is, though, this is only, you have to complete this one time. So let's say you sign up this term and maybe you decide, I don't plan on taking class until autumn term. You will not have to complete step 1 ever again. So that's kind of the nice thing about this. This also indicates a big red button comes up. So we're actually going to click this red button right here. And it's going to pop up with the Program 60 application. So this outlines different things that we actually went over in the eligibility section. But this just kind of reminds you of that information. It's also just going to show you specifics that you need to have. So you need to have a valid email address. This is just like be your personal email. This allows whenever you submit your application to be sent a confirmation email saying, hey, we've accepted, we have your application, we'll be processing it. And then once we fully process the application, then you will receive an email that indicates your last name, that number that's created. And then that's when you need to start going on to other steps. And at that point, after that point, you'll receive only communications through your Buckeye email, which we'll go over that, of course. So we're going to go ahead and keep on scrolling down this page. And you're always going to want to go to the bottom right page, bottom of this page, which is every single time it's a big red button. You're going to click the begin button. So in this information, you're going to type in your email address. So I'm just going to type in mine, just because I have it. We're going to also put in test here just because I am testing this out. I actually don't want this to be, processed. But we're just going to go through this just for the sake of this. And you just scroll down. If you have a middle name and maybe you previously participated at Ohio State as a student, maybe you got your degree here, this information is important. So I'll just put just an N here just for me, just because my middle name is Nicole, fun fact. But for that reason, providing as much information as possible. If you have a suffix, you put that there. And then if there's any other legal variations of your name. So this is very important too as well. Just because if you were married and maybe previously when you attended Ohio State, if you did, maybe you were under, a different name. This allows our systems to check your accounts and see, and it actually expedites your process of, processing your application. So it's important to just fill this out as much as you can. So I'm just going to go ahead and put test here, and we'll go from there. So now I was going to put this big button right here, so it's next. And then, like I indicated, to be eligible, you have to be 6 years and older. So it says, were you born after August 2nd, 1963? If you were after that, you are not eligible. So if you are 6 years or older, you'll click yes, but I am 60 years and older, and we're going to click next. And then we're going to type in the date. So I'm just going to go ahead and put in the same exact date as this. Just for the sake of this application, you put your birth date. From there, you're also going to confirm whether or not you have been a resident of Ohio for 12 consecutive months. If you indicate no, you haven't, then it's going to completely shut down the application. You'll have to wait until the next term to apply. Click next. And then this portion is just so that way we can double check our records. It can be an estimated date. I know it's very difficult to know especially if you moved here at a specific date, you can put an estimated date of when you moved here. So for the sake of this, I'm just going to put 1956. All right. From this portion, this is important. So for those of you that are tuning in that maybe participated in Program 60 prior to 2017, prior to 2017, you didn't have to sign up or anything like that. But because of how the system's changed, we have to re-register you to be in the program. So if you did already fill this out, maybe you forgot, or maybe it's something where you did end up signing up and maybe you haven't participated in a while. If you click yes, it's going to shut it off and say, hey, you've previously applied. Please reach out to Program 60 to get information. But because we're filling this out as a new person, we're going to go ahead and click no. We're going to click next. From there, this is very important. This is indicating whether or not you've committed a felony, have any charges against you. However, this portion, if you do click yes, and if you have committed a felony, you're not automatically discredited to be in the program. However, it does delay your application. We have a group that meets once a month that reviews these applications, and they determine whether or not, if the felony is severe or not, different things like that, and they might give next steps in regards to how we go along with the application. So from that standpoint, if you have committed a felony, just make sure, you're aware of the, delay that could be there. Or if you accidentally click this, I actually send out an email to, all that have clicked yes on this, and you can confirm whether or not that's true and accurate. And if you accidentally click yes, then we make sure we talk amongst ourselves on the back end and things, and we're able to make those updates on the application. So because I have not committed a felony, I'm going to say, no, I have never pled guilty. And you're going to click next. From there, which campus do you plan to attend? So for Program 60, you can actually participate in any classes on any of the regional campuses too as well. This question in particular just indicates where you primarily plan on taking classes. We do have other Program 60 coordinators at other regional campuses, and sometimes they may have more information in regards to classes. So we also provide them as a resource to you as well. So this is just important to just be mindful of, but because I am located in Columbus, I'm going to go ahead and click Columbus. And then I'm going to click next. From there, I'm going to type in address. I'm going to type in my office address. Boom. You put in a phone number. And then if you have a cell phone number, you put that in there too. And that just allows our, if you want to be signed up for any security updates, things like that, this will text you information. All right. And then it will ask for your gender. From there, then this is required to have a emergency contact. This could be a spouse, a friend, or maybe, someone you know. This is just so that way if something happens to you on and off campus, someone can contact someone that can represent you. Just because I'm at Columbus, I'm going to put in Brutus Buckeye because he's the man. And then I'm going to also just put in the information here. Columbus. All right. And then we're going to put in this phone number here. And then this section is just for our records to see how you found out about Program 60. Just because we are in the middle of this information session, I'm going to go ahead and just put Program 60 information session orientation. But this is just a section for us to just know where you found out about us. You click next. And then from here, like I indicated previously, that information about your name and just different previous spellings of your name is important, especially if you previously participated at Ohio State University as a credit earning student. Our internal processes, they actually will continue to utilize old accounts, and they actually merge them and set up your accounts for Program 60 that way. So it's important for them to kind of fully get that information. So this is, if you think about if you previously participated at Ohio State University, you would click I earned credits as a student at Ohio State, different things like that. Or if you've never participated, at Ohio State or higher education in general, you can put no affiliation. A question I normally get is if you have to have a high school diploma to participate. You do not. Just as long as you're a older adult that is 60 years and older, you can participate. So I'm put no affiliation here for this. And then this also just indicates if you've received a high school GED or if you did not graduate from high school. I'm going to put I received high school diploma because I did, but any of those are fine. So you click next. And then from there, it's going to want your high school information. If you do not know your high school's name, you could put in like the city you were from, and you can put in, whatever high school is from. I think the majority of us know what our high school is. This is just so that way they can just have that for the records. And then it'll say, what year did you receive your high school diploma? I'm going to put in 1960 for mine. Actually, 1966. There we go. 56. So, all right. Click next. And then from here, it's going to pop up with a screen saying Program 60 student conduct. So this is the same student conduct for all students on campus. So you're held at the same standards. So like I indicated on the slide, talking about expectations, the university holds us all at the same standards. So making sure you interact with students, faculty, staff, and anywhere in the community with respect, just because we're all Black guys and we have standards for ourselves. Make sure we're all, holding ourselves accountable. So if you do agree to student conduct, you're going to click I agree. And then you're going to click submit. So once you click submit, it pops up with this screen. So if this screen doesn't pop up, it means you have not successfully submitted your registration. But if you have, it'll pop up. You'll also receive an email shortly to that email address you put in the registration. And that first email is just saying you submitted it correctly. The other email you'll receive won't be for about 7 days, and it'll process in the system. And once the secondary email will pop up with your last name number, and that's when you could start moving on to the next steps. If there's any issues we have with your registration, it'll more than likely be me that'll reach out to you with asking any questions, clarifying questions. But this just allows us to make sure, we have the most accurate information. We're able to process it correctly. So once we have that, you're good to go. You wait about 7 days for this. So we're going to go ahead and click out of this. And we're going to go ahead and move on to our next step. So once we've received that secondary email that has our last name, number, we're now going to be able to move on to step 2. So under that participate tab, we've completed step 1. Now we're going to complete step 2. And this is activation authentication. So what this is that last name number that's assigned to you in that email, you have to activate. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And from there, you have to complete these first steps in order. Otherwise, you won't be able to move on to the next step. So these first 3 steps that we're doing is very important. So you have to make sure you fill out the registration, you receive that secondary email with your last name number, and that prompts you to move on to step 2. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go back to the Program 60 website. So I'm going to type in program60.osu.edu. And we're going to go back to that fun tab, participate, and we're going to go to step 2, which is activate your Ohio State username. We're going to go here, and it outlines just in general how to activate. The nice thing is we have direct links here. So to activate your Ohio State username, you're going to click my.osu.edu, and it's going to pull up with this screen. Now, Ohio State is really obsessed with red buttons. So you're always, with a lot of these sites, you're going to find the red button. So on this, it's going to be this big red button on the left side. So you're going to click Activate Now. With all of us in Program 60, you don't have an activation code, so you need to click I need an activation code. This is where then you're going to type in your last name number that's assigned to you, as well as your name, your last name, and then the date of birth. Now, unfortunately, I'm not able to move to the next step because I'm already activating the system. However, filling out your registration, the application given birth, is very important to have accurate information because that is what is in the system. And that's what this activation utilizes. So let's say you accidentally misspell your last name, or maybe you mistype out your birth date. It's actually going to cause a little bit of difficulty to activate your ID. So if that happens, let's say you click through this information and you click next, and it says can't find the ID. What that means is you need to call IT help desk. And they'll be able to reset the password, but also maybe be able to redirect and reach out to respective parties that can, figure out the issue with the account. So that's the, one step away. But let's say everything's filled out correctly. You're going to type in all this information. You're then going to click next. It's then going to pop up with 3 different options. So to give you the code, like to just say we're going to activate. It's going to either give you email. So whatever email address you typed in your registration, it's going to go to that email. It's going to go, maybe you say, text me this, code. It's going to text you whatever number you put in your registration, the code. And then lastly, there's another one where it's phone call, and it'll call you. But once you select which one and you're going to click next on that, you'll then need to go to whatever platform. So either it's email, your text, things like that. And it'll prompt you to use that code that pops up on whatever platform you use to type that in. And then you click submit, and it'll prompt you to create a password. It's usually about 8 to 16 character password. And it has to have uppercase as well as a special character and then 1 number in it. So that's just something to be mindful of. Now, a couple troubleshooting issues that could happen during this step is maybe sometimes this happens where maybe you never receive a code once you get to that step where it's like it texts you the code. Maybe you never receive that. Maybe you never receive an email. At that point, you'll need to call IT help desk and indicate, hey, I am not receiving a code to activate my ID. Please help. And they will be able to fast track and be able to walk you through on an alternative way to activate that account. So that's the way to activate your ID. Once you've activated your ID and that password set up at this point, then you're good. You have your ID, your password, and you're now able to move on to all the other steps. You're able to log into any platforms, which is awesome. We are going to go back to the PowerPoint just so that way we have that. We're going to move on. And this next step is setting up Buckeye Pass. So once you've activated your ID and you have your password, then you're able to set this up. This step is important because you won't be able to log into anything without the second security system set up. Buckeye Pass is interchanged with Duo Mobile, and it's a secondary security system that allows our systems to better protect your data and information in general for higher education. So you have to have a smartphone device or at least a cell phone to be able to do this. If you're not able to do that, then there's other ways you can utilize a tablet, as well as there's different keys you can buy, which I'll show you how to find that, as well as a token, which you would need to reach out to me if that's the option you want to go. And I'll be able to forward you that information on how to get that device. But we're going to go ahead and we are going to show you how to set up Buckeye Pass. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to go back to Program 60 website just because we're acting like new participants. We're going to utilize this website to be able to lay everything out. And this is also under step 2 as well. So you're going to go to participate and step 2. And it's, we've completed the activate high state username. Now we're going to set up Buckeye Pass. So we're going to scroll down until we find Buckeye Pass. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to click this link, which is buckeyepass.osu.edu. So we're going to click that. And then from there, we are going to go through here and just click a couple other resources. Unfortunately, since I've already set mine up, I can't go through the way of setting it up like any other participant. However, I'm going to pull up 2 resources as well as just showing you what pops up as mine on what it should show you once you successfully set this up properly. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'll pull up this how to register your account guide. And this has screenshot guides on how to, set this up. So that's kind of nice. So you'll need to select, it'll pop up, like once you click that red button on that screen, it's going to show you how to set up whatever device you're using. So whether it be an iPhone, whether it be a cell phone, maybe you're going to use one of the tokens I was talking about, or maybe a laptop as a secondary device. This will allow you to add a device. From there, it's going to show you different steps on how to complete this. So you'll have to first download the app on your phone. So you'll have to go to either it's your Apple store or your Google store, and you'll have to type in Duo Mobile in the search engine to find the app. You'll then download the app, and then it'll prompt you the information. In regards to logging in, you'll use your last name .number to log into the Duo Mobile app, as well as that password you created. From there, it's going to set that up on your phone. So you have that set up. It is also going to prompt you to be able to set up going through this way too as well. So if you're going through Duo Mobile, like let's say you're doing a tablet or a phone, they'll pop up on your phone as selected option. So get a notification or code to your device. So this is probably what I would recommend highly, just because then you're able to, get notifications, you're able to sync it quickly, and it's just a little bit easier and more compatible. From there, it's going to ask you to type in the cell phone number that you have. This will allow you to make sure you have everything set up. And then once you have that phone number, you'll click add a phone number. And then it'll confirm whether or not this is correct. And then since you've already downloaded Duo Mobile, you click next. And then you'll take your Duo Mobile app to scan. Basically, it'll scan, and it's taking your camera on there and hovering over it. And then it pretty much syncs, and you have it set up. I know that's a little bit more harder for me to show you, but I'm going to go ahead and try to see if I can actually do this just because I am on a different web browser. So I'm going to go back to this Buckeye Pass and click register and manage devices. Okay, cool. So it's going to have me type in my last name, .number, my password, and then it's going to click login. And since I already have mine set up, this is what happens where it'll actually pop up here as a screen, and then it'll actually show a notification on my phone, and it'll pop up like this, where then you'll click the green button, check mark button on the right side. And then once you click the check mark, they'll allow you to log in, which is nice. That's when you know you've set it up correctly. Since I already have my iPhone set up, let's see if I can actually add a device on here. Yeah, let's do that. That sounds cool. So let's add a device. So click that. I'm going to go ahead and set Duo Mobile. I'll type in my phone number. Let's see. Trying to think how I'm going to do this. All right, we'll do. And phone number. Yes, this is correct. And then from there, you download the app. So it'll pop up with downloading the app. You click next. From there, then you take your camera and you can hover over it and it'll sync it. Or you can get activation link instead. So this activation link, you can click and it can actually send it to your email address. And then you can click that and it syncs it up that way. But since for the sake of this, I'm going to go ahead and just scan it. And that allows me to sync it. And then it'll pop up and we're good to go with that. So that's a quick way to do it too as well. If there's issues at all signing up, so let's say you have issues setting up Duo Mobile, or maybe you don't have, a phone and different things like that, first you can reach out to me with any questions, but anything regarding issues like using your iPhone or like cell phone, different things like that, reach out to IT Help Desk as they'd be better equipped to be able to assist. All right. On that note, let's go ahead and we'll move on to step 3. So once we've set up activate our ID and set up our Buckeye Pass, we're going to go to Buckeye Mail. So this is the email that's affiliated with the Ohio State University that you will need to log into frequently. I highly recommend you, encourage you to check it at least once a day and frequently, especially whenever you're enrolled in a class. This is the email that university will send updates, our office will send updates, instructors will utilize to communicate with you. There are some different things that people utilize for the personal emails. However, we do highly recommend you utilize Buckeye Mail. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you how to set up your Buckeye Mail. And this is actually probably one of your steps, which is awesome. So we're going to go back to the Program 60 website. So I'll type in program60.osu.edu. And then you're going to go to the Participate tab. And so we've completed step 1, completed step 2, so activating your ID as well as your Buckeye Pass through mobile. Step 3 is logging your Buckeye email account. So you're going to click that. From there, you're going to scroll all the way down, and it's going to pop up with 2 different things. The Buckeye Mail is what we're predominantly going to be checking out, but I'm also going to show you how to log into Microsoft 365. Those of us that are in Program 60, you get access to Microsoft 365, which is the cloud software to access Microsoft Word, Excel, all those Microsoft products. And it's a little bit easier for you to be able to access any assignments or utilize it on any device or computer at Ohio State University. So it's kind of a nice one-stop shop. But regarding setting up your Buckeye email, you're going to go ahead and you're going to click this link right here. It's then going to direct you. So this is where you're going to type in first your last name .number. You're then going to add at buckeyemail.osu.edu. Now, 2 differentiating things. Your last name .number is the only thing you need to utilize to log into any other platform. It's not the same as your email address. So you can't just type in 5.20, my last name .23 to log in your email account. You have to add the at buckeyemail.osu.edu. However, you're going to click next on this. And then the nice thing about this is you don't have to create a password. You're going to utilize the password you used for your last name .number when you activated it. So you're just going to type in your password you created. And then it's going to ask me for that security, which we've completed. And it's going to go to my phone. So again, if you set it up correctly, it's going to pop to your phone or whatever device you use as your secondary security system. This is always going to pop up. If you're on a public computer, you would say, no, don't trust this computer. That allows the computer not to save this information. But if this is a personal computer you're using, you can click yes, trust this browser. From there, it's going to process through, and lo and behold, you're logged into your Buckeye email. So literally, all you have to do is type in your last name .number, and then add at buckeyemail.osu.edu, and then type in your password, and then you're logged into your Buckeye email. So that's pretty cool. All right. So to log in your Microsoft 365, I just want to show you this real quick. Is you'll go to this link. I know there's a lot of clicking links. You're going to type in your last name .number and your password. From there, it's going to pop up with the site. The nice thing about the site is these tiles are actually different resources that you can click, and it'll pull up resource guides on how to utilize them. So for instance, there's a guide on how to utilize your email account. So that's a pretty cool thing for you to access. But specifically to log into your Microsoft account, you'll just click the Microsoft365.osu.edu. From there, it's going to come up with this screen. And again, remember, we like big red buttons here. You're going to click sign in to Microsoft 365. And from there, it's going to log us in. And this is your one-stop shop on utilizing different platforms you use. So like your email, you can actually access your email from here. You can also, all the other tiles will be down here, like Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, different things like that will be all through here. This section through here will be like different assignments that pop up that you might be working on. So it's kind of really nice for you to have on hand and knowledge at least to utilize. It's not a requirement to use though. If you already have Microsoft products, you don't have to, but this is just a really nice benefit, especially if you're on and off campus and you don't want to be carrying your computer everywhere. You can log into any university computer and access your information here. All right. So on that note, we've set up our Buckeye email, which is awesome. So from that standpoint, we've also set up our Microsoft 365. And from there, we are good with the initial starting up processes, which is awesome. I do want to indicate we do have the COVID-19 vaccination requirement still here. We're not going to go full into detail today with this because we go extensively on how to complete this in the orientation. But this is just a reminder that this is still in place here at the Ohio State University. And so unfortunately, if you're unable to, complete this requirement, if you don't have a valid exemption, you'll have to participate in online only courses, and you'd only be able to have our office enroll you in classes. But we'll go more into detail, but basically you'll just have to submit your COVID-19 vaccination or exemption to the vaccination at osu.edu or MyBuckMD website, as well as signing the consent release form. Those two items have to be completed in order to be able to participate in in-person courses at Ohio State. So since we've gone through the initial startup steps and you're aware of, the COVID-19 requirement, resources for next steps. This is something really nice for you. You're excited. Maybe, this was your way of kind of saying, oh, I made a decision. I want to participate in Program 60. Here's next steps for you. In the chat, I typed in the participation guide. Go ahead and click that, print that off. You can look at that as a resource. It's the same exact information that's on the website, just a little bit more screenshots. What I want you to do is go ahead and go on the website on the home page and go to the announcements section and sign up for that summer term 23 orientation scheduled on April 14th. That's going to be an extensive overview on how to complete all the same steps. So maybe you're still having issues with the, setting up dual mobile pass, or maybe you're having issues activating your ID. We're going to go over that again during the orientation. So this is really great. We're also going to go over how to enroll, how to search for classes, different things like that. So it's a really nice and important way to be able to engage in that. There's a couple other things. I'll also send you information about our virtual coaching sessions. A lot of these are more so for those that are already engaged in the program, but it might be a really great way for you to kind of understand and get your feet wet in regards to Program 60 in general. So I'll send that in an email to you. And lastly, I do highly recommend you to sign up for a resource webinar, as this will give you a little bit more general consensus on what's available to you as a participant on and off campus. So those 3 things I want you to sign up for. I think it'd be a really great way to get you involved. So we do have a variety of most common questions. So this is kind of a really great way to kind of answer some of those that maybe you have. So if you're having issues with steps 2 and 3, which is activating your ID, as well as setting up Buckeye Pass to a mobile and email, who should you contact? You're going to want to contact IT Help Desk. They're really great. They have the resources to help you. Can I use personal email to communicate? We highly recommend and encourage you to use Buckeye Mail, as all University Program 60 communications go through that way. We're going to go over this next one during the orientation, but how do you access courses? It's through a platform called Carmen Canvas. And again, this is touch-based and orientation, but it's also covered in our resource webinar. So that's also a really great thing to sign up for. Where can you search for classes? So if you're like, okay, I got this, I'm going to set this up, I'm going to sign up to be in the program. How do you access, how do you search for classes? You can search, the participation tab on the Program 60 website, and you can sign up for, you can search for classes through the classes.oc.edu link, or you can go through the Buckeye link class search engine too as well. Of course, we're going to go over this during the orientation. We also go over this during some of our group virtual assistance sessions. So that's a really great way for you to really understand that too. And then where do you enroll for classes? Like what platform? You're going to utilize Buckeye Link. And we're going to go over this extensively during the orientation too as well. So that's just something to be mindful of. And you can't start enrolling in classes until April 18th. So you have to be registered to be in the program first. And you can't enroll in classes until A, all those steps are completed, but also B, until April 18th when enrollment opens up. Parking. So a lot of questions about parking. You cannot purchase parking passes until you're officially enrolled in classes. So what that means is you can't just sign up for a parking pass if you just recently registered to be in the program. You have to actually be enrolled in classes. Campus Park can give you more, understanding in regards to what is available to you. I know there's hourly parking and things like that. But we also have at a resource webinar a representative from our friends at the Transportation Services to give you other resources for transportation. So that's really awesome. Another question we get is library access. You as a participant, you get access to the library. So using your last name number, you're able to access any online book, in-person book. So that's really a great resource to you. Another thing people ask is Buck ID. Do I receive a Buck ID? Yes, you do. You can. You would have to go to the student union to get a physical copy of a Buck ID. However, you do get a student ID number, which we'll go over how to see where that's at in the orientation. But that's just something that we also covered during the resource webinar too. We have a representative from Buck ID Services. So it's a really great way to get more information about that. And what kind of fees are you in charge of? Like I indicated way early in this webinar, you're in charge of paying for books, lab fees, material fees, and we cover how to identify these fees during the orientation. Another great and exciting thing for you, maybe you're feeling super overwhelmed with just in regards to engaging in technology. Maybe you just feel like you're not as prepared as you thought you were, or maybe, you just want to be better prepared. Maybe you want to learn different things. Maybe you're trying to get in a class that might have a higher level of expectations for utilizing technology. We have a great program called Tech Tutoring, where we have tech tutors that will actually personalize different curriculums to help get you to the point of being more confident engaging in Ohio State platforms and technologies. There is a guideline of certain things you have to pass to be able to focus on in regards to specific goals you have. And this is just so that way you're more equipped and more successful engaging in Ohio State platforms. So to do so, you can email me to get more information about this, but you'll also call the front desk number, which I'll provide that at the end of this slide. And you'll be able to call that number to be able to get access to tech tutoring. Another great resource to you as Program 60 participants, we have a Program 60 Association. It's not affiliated with the Ohio State University. However, we do have Program 60 participants that started this association, and it's a variety of different people from the program that meet once a quarter. They do different social events. It's a great way to talk amongst yourselves in regards to meeting different people that are in the program and learning different classes that are out there and just really having a good time. So more information, you can reach out to Louisa Stefanelli, who is the president, at that email address. We also provide other information on our website too. Lastly, additional resources. We have a lot of different resources for you. This is all provided on the Program 60 website. I'm going to go ahead. I'll show you how to access all this information. So we're going to go ahead and go back to the Program 60 website. And we're going to go to Participant Resources tab. So this tab outlines a lot of different things. So for instance, ISD services and perks. This actually outlines everything you get as a Program 60 participant or have access to different resources. So that's a really nice thing to have. There's also information about the regional campuses too as well. And this outlines each of the coordinators at each of the campuses, as well as different information that's provided there. There's information about parking and transportation. And again, this is covered at the resource webinar, but you can feel free to take a look at this. There's a frequently asked questions section, as well as an online orientation, which covers, this is what we're recording right now. I'll be posting this on here and you'll be able to take a look. If maybe you have to jump off, you're unable to, or maybe you weren't able to listen to all this webinar, we do have orientations previously from previous terms recorded. You can always refer to those. It's the same information, just different dates. All right. On that note, if there's no other questions, I am going to go ahead and stop recording. I appreciate each and every one of you for joining this morning for this summer 2023 information session. I hope it was helpful. I hope it answered some questions you may have, and I hope this was the edge to get you registered to be in the program. Feel free to reach out to me at program60@OSU.edu with any other questions. You can also refer to our website, like we navigated through the whole webinar today. You can take a look at that, or feel free to, reach out with, any other things you might need assistance with. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure you're as successful as possible. We want to be able to make sure we get you enrolled in classes that you want to be enrolled in. So thank you again.